We just got more literal detail on what is going to be our next map in Black Ops 7 Zombies, in other words, DLC 2. Now, where this is coming from is actually the exact same place where we were left on before with our teasers, and this is the ending cutscene to Astra Malorum. And if I could remind you guys, what happens there is, in the very last moments, the Warden actually realizes what we're doing and wants to stop us from further freeing some Shadow Smiths that he has had domain over. And what he does is actually one of the craziest scenes that we've seen in Zombies history, and he literally drags all 8 of our playable characters down through the ground with the Ravagers with a red glow. And I mean, what this looks like is they're literally dragging our characters into hell. It's absolutely insane, and it's one of the coolest scenes that I think that we've seen in a while. But just based on that alone, we know the next map that we are going to is going to be a place where they're trying to hold our characters, even imprison them to an extent. But on top of that, considering it looked like they were being dragged into hell, you would think you would have like maybe some hellish vibes. Yet when we hear the leaks, the rumors, and even the teasers in Astra Malorum for our next DLC map, there's constant arrows being pointed towards that the next map is going to be a remake of Nuketown Zombies or even Alpha Omega, which to me just doesn't make any sense with what we were already seeing. It was pretty confusing. Like, if they were going to remake a map from the past that matched a locking away and looking like hell, I mean, there's literally Mob of the Dead right there, so that would make more sense. But regardless though, that all doesn't matter now, because we actually had another teaser image for our next DLC map that I've pointed out in the past. And this is actually before our characters were dragged down, and this is when a portal appears behind the entity and pulls her in. This is the Warden doing this. And if we look at this portal before it disappears, we can actually try to make out something, but it's really hard to make anything out from this. I even talked about this in my ending breakdown video, or ending explained, because I was trying to make out what was really happening here, but considering it's so blurry and even so warped, it was hard to make out anything. And that's where it all changed today, because today the gaming revolution actually had someone go into the files and take just this image without the warping effect, and he showed it to all of us. And this is the image he found. Now, it's still blurry, but we can make out so much more detail of what's really going on here. Right away we could tell that, like my initial speculation, these are not trees in the middle and it's something else entirely. Instead, it looks like destroyed buildings. But before we go any further, there's actually another image out there, and this is by someone on Twitter that I'll link down in the description, I think, but more back to that in a little bit. But they shared another image of this exact same thing, and I'll show it to you guys right here. Now, I know this looks so cool and I just want to talk about it, but there's something I have to address here first, and that is the fact that the person who is sharing this on Twitter has not explained where they got this image from. We don't know if this is somewhere in the files, we don't know if this is a leak from somewhere, but people are speculating that this actually might be an AI image that was just the original image that we got from the Gaming Revolution, except enhanced. But with that disclaimer out of the way, let's now talk about what we could actually see, blurry image or not. And the first thing that we can notice is that this is looking a lot more like a prison map where you would try to lock people away. I mean, considering the ending that we just saw, that the ground turned red while they were pulling down, and then also you see here that the ground's broken, there's red coming from it. Like, this looks much more like what you would expect out of a map that is trying to lock us all away. Like, that's more of what we expect. But the other thing that we could point out from this is that if we look at all these destroyed structures, I mean, they are structures. They're not trees or anything like that. Like, they're destroyed structures. And we can't help but speculate on why this is the case. Why does it look like a ruined place? And I mean, we already do kind of know the backstory of this version of Richtofen. We know that he was a part of Germany in World War II, and because of his efforts, they were actually able to win the war. But what did he do? Well, he made some sort of atom bomb, a nuke. And according to initial leaks, he nuked New York, like literally New York City. And I can't help but wonder if that's actually what we're getting here. If that's what we're looking at here. What if this is New York after the nuke? Like, what if that's what we're looking at here? A section of it. Like, that would be absolutely insane. We actually get that map after all. After people said it was canceled. No, it's actually still here. That would be so crazy. Now, the only problem with this is that you look at these structures, they don't really look like New York type structures, so that would kind of throw that off a bit. But I mean, at the same time, maybe destroyed structures look entirely different sometimes. And I mean, I don't really know how every building in New York looks, so maybe there's like somewhere out there that looks like this. But regardless, I think that would be fascinating. But the only thing that I kind of hesitate in saying this for is because at the same time, like, we haven't really had an area that was directly tied to a character. Like Ashes wasn't really tied to any of the characters. Astra Malorum was a little bit with Dempsey because he was from Liberty Falls and there was an observatory there that disappeared, but that was long before he was born, whereas this would be directly tied to Richtofen. But I guess at the same time, maybe it's not because, you know, he wasn't there when the nuke dropped, obviously, or he would be dead, but it is still something to keep in mind. But this does bring us back to the idea that this upcoming map is rumored to be not exactly the New York map, but instead a remake of Nuketown Zombies, a remake of Alpha Omega. And I can't help but wonder just for 1 second that at the end of both Nuketown Zombies and even Alpha Omega's Easter egg, that map gets nuked again. So what if it's playing off that whole idea that, yeah, it's the same Alpha Omega, or even there's a section of Nuketown Zombies, but it's on a larger scale. That this version of Nuketown is actually just a part of New York now, or somewhere else entirely, and the map is much bigger. Because I mean, based on what we're looking at like here, it doesn't look like Nuketown or Alpha Omega, so that's already a good thing by that if it really is going to be that. But I mean, it kind of would make sense and tie into this whole idea that we talked about, that this could be like the Richtofen map tied to the nukes he dropped on New York or whatever, and it could tie to literally Nuketown getting nuked at the end of every single map. So I mean, it just would make a little bit of sense with all of that, but at the same time, we can't 100% say that's going to be true. But I mean, wouldn't it be crazy if what we're looking at here is actually the place that Richtofen nuked, whether that's New York or not, but where he chose to nuke is the same place as Nuketown Zombies. And of course, it's an expanded and very different version of it, but that's what we would be doing. It would tie it all together because of both in Richtofen's backstory, the fact that Nuketown always gets nuked anyways, and now with this destroyed place. But that to me would be a fascinating thing. But there is one last thing that I want to address, and this is again where we got this image from. Because keep in mind that this isn't exactly where we saw our characters got taken away. I mean, it matches more closely to where our characters got taken away, but this is where the entity was taken to. And my question is, would the warden want the entity to be with us again? Are we just going to be freeing her again in this? Or did he take the entity somewhere else? And this is actually not where we are going, but this is where the entity is instead. And instead of us looking at DLC 2, what if this is an entire map entirely? Maybe a future one where we actually go get the entity again. And if not that, what if it's just an area like Mars where we saw on Astra Malorum that is just a small section that we could teleport to during the Easter egg? There's still that possibility, because to me it would be a bit strange to take the entity to the same place that we are, but maybe this is like his one place where he thinks he can log anything and everything away, so that's why he's doing it. Regardless of what it is, this is also fascinating, and I cannot wait to see what really happens with DLC 2. But that's not going to be for a minute, because Astra Malorum just came out, and we're probably going to have to wait till Season 2 to actually see this map. But regardless though, that's going to wrap it up for me. And as always with videos like this, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. And hey, while you're down there, drop a like and subscribe. But with that said, I'm going to go, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.